Hey everybody, it's Crazy John, and we're here with another episode and interview of OSH Radio. And today we have Xavier Rider. Uh, that is his pen name. He is a author, and I have his book here. We're going to talk about his new book and talk about him. I think we can see the book there.
Yep, I also got mine too. I was told I must show it.
You must show it. There you go. It's always good to show it.
Yep.
And that's because we both know the artist that does the artwork. So
yes.
Of course, he's the one that told us to show it.
Yes.
So, of course, that's why we have to show it. So, now this is...
we're in fear for our lives, people.
I tell you, lately I've been thinking about, I don't know, did you ever read any of Moorcock's books? Does the Eternal Champion?
No.
Okay. You might want to read it. It's good stuff, though, but... lately, I've been thinking about that, and it's that when I was asked to do your interview, it made me think more of that. So I've only read little bits and pieces throughout here, to tell you the truth. I haven't gotten to the whole book since I just got it last weekend.
Yeah.
But it is a nice book. The parts I did read were very interesting, and there's a lot of nice meat to it, which is good.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's a good size print. Well, I'm saying that is sometimes you get a book this size and the print is actually quite large, and you really don't get a lot of you don't really get a lot of book.
Whenever I wrote it, I wanted to make sure that the people at least got the bang for their buck, and I try to keep to that. My principle is always 400 pages, 20 pages per chapter, 20 chapters per book. That's what I like to go for.
That's nice. Yeah, I do like that, because I myself, I'm one of those people. I do like art and stuff, but sometimes, your artist is Wayne Johnson, but I've had this discussion with him. Sometimes I read comic books, and sometimes they get too much into the art, and there won't be any story, and I'm like, well, where's the story? I like the art, but where's the story? And sometimes they do that in movies and stuff too. It's like they have these really beautiful, interesting scenes, and you're like, oh, that's really neat, but
yeah, just intergalactic battles and things like that, and where you're like, well, why do I care about this character though?
Well, even True Blood, they had a season where they had all these female vampires coming naked out of the blood, and you're like, okay, so we just wasted 15 minutes of that. Not that I mind seeing it, but
yeah, I'm a guy
ripped off from story. I could see 1 minute of that and have 14 minutes of story, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad you have a lot of meat. You have a lot of meat on the bone here, or should we say on the sword, maybe. So, what can you tell us about tell us about yourself, and what influenced you to actually write this book, The Fallen Legacy?
There's not really much to me. I was a gamer my entire life. What got me to want to write this book was around the late 90s. I started playing a game called Ultima Online, first MMO I've ever played. And it was fantasy D&D type of game, magic, swords, armor, things like that. I was fascinated with the game, but, as technology advanced, graphics just got crappy, and it just kind of went down the tubes from there. But I still loved the idea of it. And my friend, Tom, who passed away recently.
I'm sorry about that.
He created a world using the same engine from that game, and he called it Hela 7, and the characters that we created in it basically were all of our friends. And the more I started thinking about it over the years, I'm like, well, all of these characters had substance to them, even though they're based off of real people, because they're the real people's characters. I thoroughly enjoyed the characters the most. So I messaged him one day about 5 years ago. I'm like, I'm thinking about writing a book about this stuff. And he's like, go for it. So here we are. And everybody who asks me what the book's about, I just throw out the one line. It's a love story. Really gets people going.
No, technically, it could always be a love story. It just didn't say that it's a love story between two humans. It could be a man and his car, or a man and his sword,
Yeah.
So which character are you in the book, then, since it's about you guys?
Main character, Michael. Yeah. It's not actually me, though. It's just a character personification of what I think a good man should be, at least in that particular genre. So I built that character, gave him everything I could possibly think of that would make a person a good man. And I just filled in the gaps with my friends and just found out that I was really good at coming up with stories. And all the characters I've ever created, even the bad guys, I'm like, I kind of fall in love with them, which was really odd for me.
I do think sometimes the bad guys are sometimes the more fun characters.
They are. They are absolutely more fun. Yeah, I don't really know how to go on with that one, but they absolutely are.
Well, I think the trouble is sometimes I think a lot of people will make the hero too less faceted, not enough details sometimes of the hero, I think, and sometimes they seem to put more detail into the bad guys than into the heroes.
Well, I think with that, a lot of that has to do with they want you to see the flaws in the bad guys, while the good guys are not really supposed to have flaws. Whereas opposed to how I write them, all the good guys have flaws. That's what makes them good guys, because they're dealing with their demons. As opposed to a bad guy, they are a demon. All of them. Evil, pure evil, in some way or another.
I think that's why people always like the good vampire, because they are overcoming their bad things to be a good person.
Yes. Everybody must be Angel and Spike. A little bit of redemption going on there.
Yeah, true. It's interesting. The band I used to be in, Seventh Layer, our whole main thing was two guys up front. One had a silver face. He was supposed to be an angel because we painted our faces. We did ICP stuff. And the other one that had his face painted red was supposed to be a demon. But the twist was the demon was the good guy and the angel was the bad guy.
Right.
So it was kind of the twist.
I actually enjoyed the movie series. I know Wayne told me to stay on topic, but I don't really care.
Well, it's related.
Yeah, it is related. I enjoyed the TV show or the movies, The Prophecy. Have you ever watched The Prophecy?
Yes, I have.
I really enjoyed that take of the Archangel Gabriel and whatnot. Like, that was a fascinating tale. And he's probably one of my most beloved bad guy characters I've ever seen in a movie.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that because people forget that in the Old Testament, the angels weren't always nice.
Yeah, they were. Gabriel was known as the angel of death.
Exactly. See, so what things would you want to tell us about the book? What do you think is the biggest pull that you would say someone needs to buy this and get it? And what makes you think that it would be the biggest interest to someone? Say I'm not somebody you know and it's not your book and you had read it. What would you tell me was the selling point for this to you?
I think even from a medieval Dungeons and Dragons lore genre that not a lot of people are interested in, people would still want to read it. I write it in I don't know, I can't say, I'm not going to say I'm an expert at all, not even close, but I write it in a way where I want to draw in anybody who's willing to love characters. I have one character in here, I built him around World of Warcraft, what are they called with the horns on the horde side? The cows.
I don't remember myself either.
Yeah, it's been years. But I built him around the cows, and he's just this big old muscular guy who just calls the main character his brother, even though obviously they're not. Once the main character's human, but he has this air about him that like you could tell, like you could go out and head to a bar and just have lots of fun with him. He loves to pick fights, but not in the negative way. It's just that he's big and buff and he loves to fight. I guess he would be a drunk Irishman.
It reminds me of some of the stories of Hercules where he liked to fight with people because he considered that a gift that a man gives another gift, the gift of combat with each other,
Yeah,
friendly combat,
You learn the most from someone based on combat. You find out if they're dishonorable whenever they hit you when you're down, things like that. That sort of thing. Yeah.
That's funny you said that. I used to wrestle, and I remember I had a wrestling match, and the guy who was wrestling kept doing things he wasn't supposed to, and the ref would say, "Don't do that," and he'd say, "Yes, sir, yes, sir," and then he'd do them right over again, and it's just like. So there for a while after that, it was like anytime somebody said "sir" too much, it made me feel ooh.
Yeah, kind of a kiss butt there.
Yeah, exactly. So now what can you tell me about now is this going to be once and done, or is this going to become a series? Do you know if you wanted to make this a series or not?
I absolutely want to make it a series. I have in my brain currently about 8 books written. That's how far I'm able to take it right now, but I know I can go even farther. I wrote it originally as, well, the idea was to take it as a series from the top, from the get-go, but each book, at least this one, you can read it and still take it as like that's the happy ending or an ending, whether it's happy or not, but
well, you don't want to give away the ending.
Well, happy ending, happy is subjective.
That's
to be
true.
Honest. I mean, I everything that I write about, not just in my books, but just everything else that I do, is based on some sort of realism. You can't always get what you want. Good song, but still. And
but you get what you need,
or what you deserve.
There you go.
So yeah, and I stick to that principle no matter what I'm doing, what I'm writing about, because I like, even with magic, you can still throw realistic world in there and make it so. And like the one guy, one of the dark characters that I have, his name is Darwin, and he's a drow. Do you know what a drow is? It's a dark elf, basically.
Okay.
And he comes from a society that is ran by females. Men are slaves. And he is very, very, I guess you could say, pragmatic. If something needs to be killed because it will save lives or something, he's not going to hesitate. He's just going to do it. He doesn't care if it's dishonorable or whatnot. He doesn't care. He'll do what needs to be done. And he's got a real complex storyline. And I wrote all these characters knowing later on in life I might have to write their own books.
That's what I was going to ask you. If some of the characters, now you said 8 books now, so some of these books might be the adventures or fleshing out the past or present or future of some of the other characters.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I can tell you at least 3 of the characters right now, not including the main character, they definitely deserve their own books, just because, like the one character I told you about, the big old guy with the horns, he's just so fun to write because I can throw my humor into him, and he just makes me laugh every time I write about him, and he deserves his own story, so I'm going to give it to him. It's going to be great. I love it.
So will that be the next book, or how long until you do the one with the guy with the horns?
Oh, that's not going to be the next book. Next book is Bloodlines, and then the one after that is Unity, and the one after that is War. So I've got a while to go.
Now, question for you now. Do you have any websites yet set up for your writing, or not yet?
We currently, because we're, I guess you could say, internet illiterate or ignorant, so to speak, we don't know crap about marketing either on the internet. So we pretty much just have one website for everything, which is undertheblack.net. We sell my book on, and coffee and other things too. And Wayne's artwork.
Yeah, Wayne, who does give him more plugs, that does the artwork, also does make good coffee.
He does that, yeah.
Which he's probably subjected both of us to, right?
Yeah, he was such a hard sell. I met him one time. When my mother died, I went back to Pennsylvania in 2013, and I met him once through a friend. He brought along his portfolio and everything like that, and showed me all the tattoo work that he's done and everything. And I went back home to North Dakota, and about a year later, I called my friend again and I said, give me his number because I needed artwork for my book. And so I called him and I'm like, I don't have any money, but I have an offer for you. How about I make you a partner, full-fledged? He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Here we are.
And then how many years ago was that?
That was 4 years, I think.
4 years? Because I know you guys do some other things. You do some podcasts, and I forget. Are you guys working on a game too? Or
Yes. Yes.
Now, is that also going to be along the same lines as the book, or is that something different?
That's something different. I don't know if I'm allowed to discuss this.
Well,
It's
probably not. It's okay. It's okay if you don't. I was just curious.
No, I don't care. I just we're trying to separate a certain part of our business from the rest of the business.
Yes, I understand.
And
I didn't know if it was all based on the same things. I know I've been. Wayne did also proof some of my books for me.
Well,
and,
the game that
they're
I'm
all
creating,
kind of
the game that I created, that I'm creating and I'm working on right now is based off of a whole other world that he and I created, which is connected to a whole other TV show that we created that has its own universe, and it's very strange.
Now, do you think that someday also might find its way into being a book?
Yeah, that's for certain.
So that would be interesting also. I mean, that's why I brought up Moorcock before, because his whole thing was he had the concept of eternal champion. And in one series of its book, it was an elf. And then he died and came into another universe, and he wasn't an elf. He was a different kind of a creature. There was another series of books. And then he had another interesting book where the Eternal Champion was born during the 60s in basically our world, when you were having racial issues and stuff in the 60s. And it was interesting because he wasn't born white, but he wasn't born black. He was born white, but inverse white. So his skin was black, but so were his teeth and his eyes. Because everything that would normally be light was dark.
Right.
So he had to paint his teeth and wear contacts to look like a black man in the 60s. And he was the Eternal Champion too. And he kind of did that kind of he kind of did that to go around the issues. But basically he had a character that was the same character in essence. Yeah. But in different universes, and he came out differently in different universes.
Right. It had different struggles and things like that. That's actually an interesting way of going about that, yeah.
It is interesting. I always make fun of his last name, though, Moorcock. But after he died, his daughter, I think, tried to write a couple books. And I don't know if that really worked out. But it was an interesting concept because it was a sword and sorcery type. All the books were sort of a sword and sorcery, other than the 60s issue, which I really didn't enjoy that as much because he kind of tried to get into issues of different things during the 60s and, you know.
Yeah. When you come to something like that, to a controversial area, you start to get into politics and things like that, and people get turned off by that. They want to be interested in the world. They want their characters that they love, and when you start bringing in the real world, it starts to get it a little bit toxic.
Well, you talked about gaming, and I used to be in the professional gaming league, and I never really liked the like you said, the fantasy games. I like the shoot 'em up games. And even with the shoot 'em up games, though, to be honest with you, I wanted the ones where you shot monsters, you shot aliens. I didn't want to be playing a soldier in a war. I didn't want reality. I wanted fantasy.
Right. After all, they're video games, which would make more sense to be like that. If I want reality, I'd join the freaking military.
Right. And it's like, even with entertainment on TV, Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah. I have to admit, I like Jerry Seinfeld. I think I like better that he likes cars. But everybody, I remember teaching a class and everybody having to go home for Jerry and being like, can we get out so we can go? And his humor it appealed, I should say, to people because he made fun of everyday things. But to me, it was like I live everyday life. I
Yeah.
really don't want it on TV. I
I
want
never
release.
I never got into Seinfeld.
See, I
Yeah,
want something that is different than real life because to me that's entertaining.
yeah. I'm a guy who likes any type of comedian that wows me, that says stuff that like, wow, you said that? Holy crap, that's awesome. That's what I want to hear. Or even I like the slapstick stuff, you know,
There you go.
or the old Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. That's my type of thing, you know, like Ghostbusters. That was actually a comedy in and of itself, but people thought it was more of a serious movie, and I'm like, no. If you actually listen to what they're saying, almost the entire time, they're pooping on everybody.
Yeah, they actually did, didn't they?
Yeah,
That was a good movie. Now you said wow. It's interesting you said wow. Now I'll steer us back onto the book here, which Wayne did a nice cover up, but so we make sure he gets his plug. Now, do you feel you have some really good wow parts in this book?
oh,
Just to talk
absolutely.
about wow.
Yeah, I have things in there where I pretty much cried writing about it. There's some of the things in there that, well, to help people out, I even put a teaser a little bit. The main character ends up becoming. It would be considered a werewolf to us, but it's not in the book. But that's what it is. He has the ability to shapeshift into a werewolf, and it was a gift and a curse to save his life, and it wasn't done by a nice person. I'll leave it like that. So yeah, there's a lot of wow factors. There's some things in there where you're just like, I can't believe they've done this type of thing. Then there's other thing where it's just I can't explain it without getting into spoilers.
That's true. You don't want to get into spoilers. We want people to reach out and buy the book is what we want. And it's good. It's interesting you said about werewolves. Earlier when I said about the vampires being a good hero, I almost said also about vampires and werewolves. Yeah. Because throughout some different shows, you've had I was kind of raised on Dark Shadows when I was a kid. And Quentin Collins was a werewolf that did good things. But he actually fought his werewolf curse by having a Dorian Gray type photo.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the photo would actually change into a werewolf for him at the end, and not him.
Yeah. Well, he was
a good werewolf. So.
Well, what I did with this book was I took the structure, the foundation of what a lot of people have built in D&D and so on and so forth, and I've stripped away the parts that I disliked and added parts that I preferred. So the whole werewolf dynamic between human and werewolf isn't really a thing. It's based on another type of culture. Like I said, no spoilers on that one, but I can give spoilers like that. All the magic users in this world, none of them use little sticks or staves. I hate that. I found it to be incredibly insulting with anything. I love Tolkien, but seriously, you don't need a piece of wood to create magic.
Well, my understanding was that sometimes you really only used the staff or the stick to help focus, and the power came from you. And I kind of always liked that belief better. Yeah. So therefore, you could still do the magic without it. It's just supposed to help you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched any of the old episodes of My Favorite Martian, but there is a episode. I forget what happened, but he can't bring his antennas up, and he can't do his normal stuff. So in that, he tried wiggling his nose, or what is it, wiggling his nose and blinking his eyes, or what he tried doing the things that Genie and Bewitched did.
Right.
Because he could no longer use his antennas to help him with stuff. I think his antennas couldn't come up and his fingers were held because he used to do that levitating with his finger. And so he tried to focus he focused his power in a different way. So, he could still do it, but he had to try it. But it was just kind of funny because he was making kind of fun of the other shows, So we got a few more minutes here. What is it that what is it that you'd like to say about this in the last couple of minutes that you'd really like to get out there to people? What do you think would really sell it to people, make them have to give it to people for their Christmas gifts? I don't know, their wedding party gifts, their anniversary gifts, other than, of course, Wayne's great artwork.
Other than Wayne's great artwork. I would have to say, without tooting my own horn, because I'm not, this is my first book I've ever written. I cannot say that I'm a professional at this stuff, but I thoroughly enjoyed making it. I couldn't stop. I was trying to go to bed all the time at night, and my brain just kept going, no, you can keep writing more chapters. I mean, I was writing a chapter a day easily, and I have to go back and change things and just keep going, and then, I also built in the book where I put cliffhangers at the end of chapters, because I know how that works with a lot of people. They take a book upstairs, hang out in their bed, and they're reading that, and they're like, okay, I'm going to finish chapter and then go to bed. Well, there's the cliffhanger, and then you're like, oh.
Then it makes it hard for you to put it down.
But also, this book is based off of a series, so therefore, any questions that are left unanswered in the first book, they'll be answered later on. And I think this is it's a good start to a tremendous saga that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy writing about. And I wish people would, I don't know, read the book and get into it with me, because I like talking to fans. Whenever I printed out my first copies, I sold them to everybody that I knew that wanted to buy them, and I got great reviews. Of course, it's my friends, so that might be a little bit biased there. But I like the feedback of they enjoyed the characters, they enjoyed the story, and that's what I'm looking to get out of it. Make money, sure, but I want the story to be shown to everybody.
Well, I think, like I said, I haven't read too much of it yet because I just got it this weekend, but I did read some. Mm-hmm. I think with any art form that people do, music or painting or anything, or comedy even, the fact that you based a lot of it, you said, on friends, families, even yourself, that puts a lot into it of what you know and gives it a lot more depth than if you totally make up fictitious characters, I think.
Well, there's even a couple characters that are based off of like bits and parts of my personality. Like whenever I'm extremely angry, there's a character in there for that. Not the Hulk, I might add. But every character that I've written in these books, I can tell you exactly who they are in real life. And that's what's actually funny, because they'll proudly come out and say, that's me. Yes.
But see, I think that makes it good, because it's always, like I said, it's always good when an artist puts himself into it. Mm-hmm. And I used to interview comedians, and that's what they used to say about the comedy. They said, you can always tell a comedian that writes about his own stuff, because you're putting yourself in there and you're putting out there, and it gives it a lot more depth, I think.
Yeah, especially when from a comedian standpoint, especially when you're self-deprecating. Like I think the audience actually appreciates that more. Like, yeah, you're hitting on everybody, but you're also hitting on yourself, and that's kind of a thing. I do that with the characters too. They're not heroes; they're just good people of the times, and that's still subjective.
Well, I don't know. A lot of these today, they use the anti-hero name. But I mean, I think what people got to realize with characters and stories should be just like characters in real life. Everything's not
black and white.
It's gray. White. There's a lot of gray, right? There's a lot of, but that causes the depth. That gives you the depth of a character, like we were talking about before. Mm. And I think that's very important, and I'm glad that that's what you've done here. Now, I guess I'll wrap this up. We're about at our half hour. I said we didn't want to go more than a half hour because people lose interest. And I've lost interest. So I'm going to leave. No, I'm looking forward to getting further in the book. I'm sorry I haven't. But what I've read was very catching so far, and I'm glad that you're looking to do more. Hopefully, who knows, maybe it could lead to some movies or who knows what. That would be
That would be
great.
nice. That would be really nice.
So, if you want to tell us again, where's the website that they can find this stuff if they want to order stuff?
Undertheblack.net.
Undertheblack.net. And is there any place if they wanted to contact you personally about anything, or would that be better just to go through that page also?
Hela 7 Development on Facebook. That's about all we got for now. But we're about to open up the market because we're learning.
Well, people can contact me through OSH Radio if they want to, and I'll help them out at all. And I hope that you do real great with the book. Hope it gets out there. Hope more books get out there. We'll make sure we plug the artwork here just a little bit more.
Get that artwork out there. We don't know who made it, but it's out there.
And like you said, Wayne the artist also does some tattooing. And he has a tattoo that's kind of similar to that one also. So thank you very much, Xavier, for letting me interview you. Thank you very much for your contribution of the books. I look forward to finishing this one and reading your other ones in the future. So hopefully we'll talk again shortly or soon about something else that you're working on.
Be happy to.
Thank you.